Welcome to the OK Not OK podcast. I am Dr. OK, and today is the OK question of the week, and you stupid idiots have not sent in any questions yet. So again, I am stuck with the SportsZu, so here he is. Doc, Pitt Volleyball is in their 4th straight Final Four. How amazing is that? I guess that's not the OK question of the week, so I'll ask this instead. Why is Drew McIntyre going after the OG Bloodline now, after all this time? Well, SportsZu isn't that nice because last I checked, in these last 4 years, that particular team still has 0 national championships, so wake me up if they happen to win it this time around, because even Drew McIntyre won the World Heavyweight Championship for 5.5 minutes at WrestleMania this year. So let's get to the real question about why he is doing this right now. So let's start off with just a quick recap on what has happened very recently. After losing at Bad Blood, he took a lot of time off, but he showed up on December 2nd to Claymore Sami Zayn after he had just lost to Seth Rollins, and we didn't know exactly why he was doing that. So on December 9th, in a pre-tape segment, he said that he kept getting screwed going across the finish line to win that championship, and while he was away tending to his family, he had a lot of time to ask if people can change and if he was wrong. But then he saw Roman Reigns snap his finger, and Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Sami Zayn all came back to him for absolutely nothing, where he said at least his enemy CM Punk at least took a bribe to join him. But he vowed that although he can't change the past, he can change the present and will change the future. So later that night, he decided that he would again attack Sami Zayn as he was walking back up the ramp. So just a few days later on SmackDown, he was there to speak to Nick Aldis about the transfer window, but he saw Jimmy Uso standing in the middle of the ring, so he decided to take full advantage of that and claymore him even though he has a broken toe. So the very next night was Saturday night's main event, and he defeated Sami Zayn in one-on-one action with another claymore, which led to this past week's Monday Night Raw, where he spoke to Seth Rollins backstage, saying that once Reigns beats his own family, he will go right back to where he was, controlling the entire WWE, and that everyone who is enabling him, specifically Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Sami Zayn, needs to be taken out. But while Rollins admitted that they have common interest, he said that those two are not friends, and that the jury was out for him having respect for McIntyre. So as of this moment, Rollins is solely focused on CM Punk and not on helping McIntyre with the bloodline. But wasn't the shoe just on the other foot at WrestleMania? Because way back on February 26th, in what was the best interaction at the time, McIntyre could not understand why Rollins was helping Cody Rhodes to go against the bloodline, as McIntyre said that he was enough for Rollins to handle by himself for their upcoming World Heavyweight Championship match, and that surely the bloodline would interfere in their championship match, and McIntyre would happily take the win if that opportunity presented itself. But Rollins said that some risks were worth taking, and that the bloodline was bigger than the rivalry between Rollins and McIntyre. And perhaps McIntyre was actually right there because, of course, in night 1 of WrestleMania, Rollins and Rhodes lost to The Rock and Roman Reigns. But with all of that backstory, what is so different now that didn't exist at WrestleMania or before that? Well, the first thing I thought of is that McIntyre does not have eyes on a prize right now. He knows that after losing to CM Punk, he is not a top contender at the moment, so he's going to have to earn his right back to that spot. So if nothing else, he's got to focus his attention somewhere, and perhaps the OG Bloodline is the place to do that. And is it as simple as seeing the OG Bloodline with CM Punk, as he talked about, because he still can't get CM Punk out of his head, but he knows he can't face CM Punk directly anymore, so is he just moving on to the next closest target? But does that next closest target happen to be easy pickings for Drew McIntyre? Because since last September of 2023, Drew McIntyre is undefeated against both Jey Uso and Sami Zayn in one-on-one matches, going 4-0 against Jey and 4-0 against Sami, including last week's win at Saturday night's main event. And in fact, McIntyre's only losses to either of those two were in the War Games match in 2023 when he was up against both of them, and then he also lost the Fatal 4-Way that Jey won to become the #1 contender to Damian Priest the night after WrestleMania. But that one was also due to CM Punk's interference. But if Jey and Sami are easy pickings, what about Roman Reigns? Well, that's where the script is flipped, as of course the big one was at Clash at the Castle in 2022, when Solo Sikoa actually made his main roster debut, and he yanked the ref out of the ring after McIntyre hit a Claymore that surely was going to defeat Reigns, as the crowd counted for many, many counts, well past 3, but there was just no ref to make the count. So Solo then got up onto the apron and yanked McIntyre's neck, and then Reigns landed a spear to, of course, as always, cheat to retain the title. And after that match, McIntyre did get one more shot at Reigns, but it was in the Survivor Series War Games match. But he, Kevin Owens, and the Brawling Brutes did indeed lose to the OG Bloodline. But for his career, including that Clash match, he is 0-5 in all one-on-one matches against Roman Reigns, which including Survivor Series of 2020, which happened to be a champion versus champion match, and in a 3-match series that began in WrestleMania 35 and concluded at Stomping Grounds in June of 2019. He lost all 3 of those, so he is winless at 0-5. But as I just said, his last match against Reigns was at War Games in 2022. That means it's been over 2 years since he was firmly in the crosshairs of Roman Reigns. And those two have not been on the same show since McIntyre was drafted to Raw in April of 2023. And of course, as of now, that still remains the case, though McIntyre, as we said, went to Aldis to talk about that transfer portal. So do we know what he's going to do? And in fact, of course, Reigns versus Sikoa in Tribal Combat will be on Raw. So are those two moving over to Raw from SmackDown in this transfer window? It's a lot up in the air now what exactly is going to happen. But surely McIntyre has enough clout for this transfer window that he can choose where he wants to go, most likely, as both brands surely want him on their roster. So all he needs to know is what Roman Reigns is ultimately doing. So if he wants to, he can just choose the other brand and go there for a while. Now the problem is, of course, I assume that we will still have another WWE draft after this upcoming WrestleMania, and he won't have the control that he will as he does at this time during the transfer window. But is McIntyre now a knight in shining armor, or is something else going on here? I have to say I think it's something else, as he is definitely not a knight in shining armor, though he certainly makes some good points to Seth Rollins. But ultimately, Drew McIntyre is going to do what's best for Drew McIntyre, and his goal is always to be a champion. And if Roman Reigns somehow wins that Tribal Combat match, which would surely only be with a whole bunch of interference and help from the OG Bloodline, well, then Roman Reigns would certainly go right back to hijacking one of the shows and hijacking one of the titles for as long as humanly possible. So McIntyre is a smart guy, and he knows if that happens, that cuts his options in half of where he can go to win a championship. So it simply stands the reason that he needs to cut Roman Reigns down to size before he corrupts the entire WWE yet again and makes things twice as hard for McIntyre to win one of those titles. And admittedly, McIntyre is on the money that he cannot believe that there are enablers out there letting Reigns just get right back into power. And I'm sure he also cannot believe that there are all sorts of stupid idiots out in the WWE universe who are actually cheering for this guy and for that to happen. I mean, what more evidence do you need than Roman Reigns not showing up to work for 4 straight months because he was too much of a baby to come in and try to get that title back? And of course, we've noted over and over again that Roman has needed help in 11 straight championship matches in order to maintain that grip on the title that he definitely never deserved to have. So in conclusion, with McIntyre being out of the title picture for now, he certainly believes in himself to know that he'll get right back into that picture in just a short while. So what he can do now and control is stopping Roman Reigns from regaining control of one of those 2 titles that we know it will not be easy to stop him from letting go of, because he's obviously just going to cheat again. So in order to keep his options open for later, he needs to take care of Roman Reigns right now. And speaking of right now, if you didn't see my Raw recap and all of the grades from all of the matches and segments, be sure to go there right now to check that out, because if you don't, and if McIntyre can't stop Reigns, that would be not okay.